As we're focusing on the energy sector, now the pact between the federal government and the power distribution companies to supply and install 1 million meters between last October and December 2020 did not come close to hitting its target. It was only able to meet 16,308 meter installation, representing just barely 1.6% at the end of the month of November. That's according to latest figures from the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, which shows that in November, Enugu, Benin, Ibadan and Yola Discos were yet to begin deployment as of the time of the data released. With the current installation pace of about 8,000 meters per month, it will take at least 10 years to complete the first phase of 1 million meters in an industry that has well over a deficit of 10 million meters. Now, in October, the federal government said it had begun the free supply and installation of meters in collaboration with discos and local meter manufacturers and contractors to supply 1 million units to Nigerian homes by the end of the year 2020. Well, joining me now live in our Lagos studio to discuss this development and much more, I have with me energy analyst and editor with New Telegraph, Adeola Yusuf. Good to have you on the breakfast show today.
My pleasure.
Now, what do you make of this shortfall we have in terms of the targets missed? It's a small sum compared to the larger target we have set, 1 million units of meters, and we could only barely do 16,000, not up to 100,000 at least. That's just about 1 to 2%.
Okay, foundationally, there's nothing wrong about setting targets. From nations to institutions to even individuals set targets. When it comes to nations, it's called budget. Institutions, they call it forecast or projection and all that. But in the case of Nigeria, even the government may call it forward-looking target. While those are not in government, we call it frivolous. But I want to call it extravagant. Most times we are so extravagant with setting targets. We don't even think of the implication of the target. We are all aware of the visions where we've been setting as target from, I think, 20 to Vision 2010 to Vision 2020. And this is 2021. Nobody is talking about that anymore. So having set that there's nothing wrong about setting targets, with the way Nigerian government set targets, particularly this one that we are talking about, is not something that is applaudable in any way. And quickly, let me add this. When it comes to power, everyone understands. In fact, with all sense of humility and responsibility, we have written a report. Immediately that target was set, and we have looked at, issues around. We have said that target is, extravagant. But now, here is where we are. So setting target. What we observe about that is that setting target was bottom up. The government just set targets, not considering stakeholders in the industry. If I want to set target to you, you need to agree with me. We need to sit down on the table, even before setting that target. So at the end of the day, everyone will know that if you get 1%, 1 over 100 in school, there is no parent that will, give a pat in the back to that child. So
most
this is not a very
definitely,
good
the federal
target.
government had engagements with local manufacturers as well as other key individuals or stakeholders within the supply chain to facilitate this process of meter installation. So are you saying now that to achieve 1 million units of meters within that 3-month period, despite all of the production capacity and collaboration that we have, it's just way too optimistic?
Damilola, okay, so we set targets of 1 million. At the end of the day, when you put that on percentage, what we get is not up to 2 million.
A favorable peg for you? What would be realistic?
No. What I'm saying is 1 million target is not too much for Nigeria.
You understand that the local manufacturers can produce well over 100,000 per week. If they
Damilola,
go per month,
what is now responsible?
Well over 100,000. So if we have all of the different units in a month, produce say about 350 to 400,000. That's just from one local manufacturer. By the time you add 3 or 4 of these strategic producers of this unit or assemblers, you have about 1 million units.
Beautiful narration, Damilola. Okay, now, why do we have just 1% of that at the end of setting the target? Let me just help us to look back. Even before now, we have what the government called cap me. Immediately there is a change of hand in the ownership of these discos. There is what they call CAPMIN. That project to roll out meters en masse, a target was set that time. We did not meet that target. They changed it, they changed the name. You know, we are so good at that. They changed the name to MAP, Meter Assets, Meter Asset Providers. At the end of the day, target was set. We failed to meet that target.
So this one is MMP within the power sector over the years.
So that's what I'm saying.
At this point in time now, what sort of engagement do you expect from the federal government to have a review of this target missed? What are the realistic steps to take? What sort of engagement are expected? What's your proposition to ensure that now when we set targets for the first quarter of 2021, we'll see an improved result? Okay,
thank you. First of all is sincerity. Sincerity on the part of everyone on the table. Everyone is now suspecting, even the data being rolled out by producers now. Everyone is suspecting that. So let there be sincerity first. Then number one, the engagement government is going to have with stakeholders should be horizontal. It shouldn't be vertical. You cannot sit down somewhere and dish out targets to people. You understand? So let them, all of them sit on the same table, you know. Let there be a cross-fertilization of it there. Let the government ask critical questions, sincere questions, because at the end of the day, it is those in government that are taking this embarrassment. I've just told you, from CAPMI to MAP to MMPN, and we don't know the next one that is coming. So at the end of the day, how much of this percentage have we realized? Less than 2%. So it shows that everything is critically wrong with even that target you are setting. If we are setting a target, even if you are not meeting up to that target, I've said it earlier, of course, you can set targets, at least at the end of the day, if you meet up to 60%, 40%, 70%, you are okay. But 2%, it's not something we should be even talking about. So it has shown clearly, even for those that are setting that target, that they are failing. You understand? With all sense of humility and responsibility. So what they need to do, instead of giving us another target, you understand? Let them be sincere. Let them sit down together. And don't do a top-bottom target setting. Do an horizontal target setting. Let everybody come and say, okay, this is what I can do. This is what I cannot do. Then let them tell Nigerians, even if it is 500,000 they can do, let them tell Nigerians they can do 500,000. Then the major, undoing in all this now is that anytime the government is telling Nigerians about power, setting target in power, you will agree with me that very few, if we are even able to see that very few, we believe what the government is saying. So when a government is losing its credibility in front of the government, it is a critical issue that the government needs to do. So when you are looking at this issue again, because I know they will still set another target, when you're setting another target again, please be considerate. Do something that at the end of the day, Nigerians soon say that, okay, that is the way they do, that is the way they say. And it is very important because of how cardinal the power sector is to the generality. We spoke about COVID-19. The second wave is here. The major undoing of this virus is the way it's really dealing with the economy. Nigeria, went into recession. Everyone is clamoring. The government has, been planning to, come out of recession and all that. The cardinal, instrument we need is this power sector, and the government needs to start taking it seriously.
Most definitely, the power sector is critical, but at this current pace, we are moving now 8,000 units per month. This report says, well, it will take well over 10 years to be able to achieve the initial phase that we even pegged for 1 million units. Now, what's the ripple effect in terms of how this would also affect other prospects, and also looking at the challenges of having a sustainable pricing template in terms of electricity tariff? If we don't have enough meters, then we cannot regulate consumption, we cannot regulate pricing. And then the bigger menace we still have on ground is estimated billing. So how does this current report really impact estimated billing and also looking at sustainable electricity tariff regimes?
Okay, like I said earlier, it is something that has sent signal across the entire value chain, to show that what we are doing about the power sector, there is a need for a revisit of what we are doing in the power sector. Fine, there is privatization, and we could see that all the discos are putting, at least what we can see, in their best to ensure that, okay, in the best value, everything is changing. But in terms of what you say to people and what you eventually deliver to the people, it is really, you know, an area that the government and all stakeholders, you know, need to look critically into. Because at the end of the day, one thing the government should strive hard not to lose is integrity before the government. So when you are setting targets, particularly when it has to do with electricity, something that you could see, if we talk about electricity, everything, yes, it's the core, it's at the middle of, except you are not being sincere with ourselves. So government needs to take this seriously. When you are setting another target, because I know very, very definitely they are still going to set another target. I have said it earlier, there's nothing wrong about setting target, but don't be frivolous as those that are against government will say it, and don't be extravagant as I would want to say it. So because at the end of the day, it's still going to come back to you talking to people and the way people are taking what you're saying.
Well, we'll continue to work on conservative approaches and forecasts for having proper infrastructure put in place for the power sector, and we can only but expect that a review will be done, especially as we've seen the rollout of these figures, and then further engagements will be held to make sure that we have better targets set and met as well. Thank you very much for your time on the Breakfast Show today. Adeola Yusuf, it's been a pleasure.